Welcome to RuCode's, I think, 14th episode of our office hours, where we will be taking questions from the community and where we have a guest today, Adam with GosuCoder, as well as we have Dan, one of our Ru employees working here. Welcome, Dan, and welcome, Adam.
Thank you.
Welcome, everybody.
Okay, so what are we going to talk about today?
We have a lot. New update.
New update. Let me pull it up on screen here. I'm going to flip over to some screen sharing. Okay, and then I'm going to, here we go. So let's give it a test. This new to-do list feature is the one that I want to show off. What do you guys think?
Ready to see this?
Okay, here we go. We're going to go to orchestrator mode. And let's give it a try. Okay, we have a prompt here. Create a visually appealing and smoothly animated website that features a collection of simple, fun, browser-based games. The site should include a version of Flappy Bird and at least 2 additional mini games of similar simplicity and entertainment value. The overall design should be polished and engaging, with smooth transitions, responsive interactions, and playful animations that enhance the user's experience. Prioritize usability, charm, and consistency across the different games and the main interface. This is to be built with Node. Think that'll cut it?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Not full prompt.
Oh, hey, welcome. And I guess we also have Matt here. He's our lead dev. Okay, here we go. See, we have a to-do list that queued up right away.
That looks very nice.
Okay, let's see. We're going into architect mode. I'm going to zoom in a little. Nah, I can't do that. That's terrible.
So the to-do list went away because we're in the subtask now, right? And the to-do list
Yep.
is per task. Yeah.
Yeah, we will. Here, I'm going to turn off the auto-approve the questions. Should kick us up a list here. Simple, clean, just 3 game basic navigation and responsive design. Enhanced experience, games plus user scores, social sharing. Let's go with it. Just simple. Okay, here we go. We have another to-do list for our subtask. You see here, you can easily toggle it down. Okay. Analyze technical architecture options for Node.js, plus cloud deployment. Oh, I don't know about the cloud deployment part, but we'll see what it comes up with. Okay, let's try another model. While we're waiting, what model should we try here?
I think Pro is a great idea because we were talking about Gemini 2.5 Pro. Because we were talking about how it gets lazy sometimes, so maybe it's a
Here we go.
test to see if the to-do list helps.
Okay, I'm gonna click. Okay, we've got this one going. Got this one going, and then I have a third one. Should I try a third one? Let's try 4.1 maybe.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I think I'm gonna have to make a new one here. Okay, so edit plus. Let's go 4.1. Oh, apparently it already exists, so I just am not paying. Ah, there we go, found it. Okay. Oh, you know what? It's not going to work how I want it to. Okay, I've got to back off a moment.
Sub modes.
Because the sub modes. So we got to do one at a time. Okay, I'm going to go back to my original. Let's get rid of these. Let's stick to this one. We'll do one at a time. stop sharing this window. And okay. So we're still in Sonnet and Architect. We might have to flick back once. Okay, we've got create a comprehensive architectural specification document. Thoughts?
What files?
I really like this.
Me too. It's really good.
So
I haven't
so my
not
idea
tried
was
this, by the way.
So when I don't like when modes create too many files at times. I feel like that's distracting to the model, especially if the actual file has like syntax issues. Then the model tries to fix them.
Didn't
For
listen
example,
anyways.
it happens with YAML and JSON. So I feel like having this as something that the model can use to keep track of the task is such a great idea.
Oh, hey, well, we're at it. We introduced code basing. To-do list, great, wonderful, but code basing here. We simplified the setup interface. If you look down here, there'll be a little gray dot. In my case, it's green because it's already running. Click it, and we have our setup. You can set up with OpenAI or various providers. Anyways, once you're set up, you index, and you can also change these cool advanced settings here.
Oh, that's sick.
Yep. These are somewhat new. They're not going to be super useful in a project like this yet because it's good for searching for existing code-based stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, I got to say,
Okay.
I was trying to help test this out and turned off Codebase indexing to like test out the UI, and I realized how much I depend on it now. It's like it just feels like, and maybe you get to the same result, but it really does seem to get there a lot faster than the grepping and everything. So I know there's a lot of, I guess, healthy debate on the internet about this stuff, but for me, I found it to be a pretty helpful feature. So nice work, Dan, and everybody else who built this thing. I'm excited to get it out to more people, get more feedback.
Where I found that it really shines, because yeah, if you're grep can usually get there, but in situations where grep can't get there, indexing can. The semantic search can. And there are edge cases when you're running through your development process where it can easily miss something if it's just using grep because it's using an LLM to come up with creative search strings. But sometimes my ability to make elements that are totally not what they should be named and an LLM can't guess, my ability to do that is greater than an LLM's ability to guess them. So, yeah.
I mean, I also think it's a big cost saving too. I mean, I'd love to actually analyze that, but grep can be very expensive when it's trying to like figure out where it needs to go in the code base. Where code base indexing can get you right to the right spot. So, oh, we got an internal server error.
Okay. Internal server error.
Please copy down.
Who did that?
Huh. So what I found with code-based indexing is it really depends on two things: the amount of results that you give the model and the quality of the results. So we at the beginning indexing, we tweaked it so that the results are more relevant, and now we're giving the ability to really tweak how many results you get, what's the score threshold. So I feel like the more information, even if it uses more context, the more information you give to a model, especially for like refactoring tasks, it really, really improves a lot the understanding of the code base. Or even for fixing issues, I've seen it just search one time and going, oh, I see the issue, and goes to read the file and solves it immediately with just one search. So I really like indexing. It's really working great now. It still needs some tweaks, but it's really, really good.
Yeah. Okay, where are we at on our... it got back on track. It had an internal server error. I think there was just an open router blip. From time to time it happens. By and large, open router is stable and it's wonderful service to use. So where are we at? look at our list, examine current workspace structure, create a directory structure, public, SRC games, core, blah, 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 initialize Node.js project with npm init, install required dependencies, yada, 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 and now create a Vite config.js configuration file. Good. Yellow indicates this is the step that we are on. That's correct, Matt?
Yeah, that's right. The step in progress.
Cool. I suppose I should throw it out to Claude Code. Thanks for this really good idea about the to-do list. And to our contributor, AXB, who really kicked ass and surprised us. I think he just did like a ninja PR, and you saw it and you were like, huh. You tried it and you just implemented it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Murillo, you were talking about it too, right? I feel like it was like 3 different contributors were like, "Hey, we should do this," and I don't know, they just hit at the right time. I was getting frustrated like everybody else with these long markdown files and having it lose it. But yeah, I don't know. Thanks for instigating as well, Murillo.
Oh,
thank Murillo.
You. Yeah,
welcome.
I'm here now. Thank you. Yeah, I think that we still have to run some evals, or people have to test what they feel about the difference between using a to-do list and not using one, you know? But yeah, I think it's a great feature to keep the model in track, and seems to be like what everyone else is doing right now.
Yeah.
When are they hitting the GoSu evals, the to-do evals?
Yep, we need to run them.
We need to get our, I don't know, we need to get our own evals in to support more of this kind of planning stage as well. We kind of got a little stuff done, figuring out how to best measure, like creating a good plan. I don't know, Adam, if you have like thoughts on the best way to actually evaluate like if this is good or not.
Me, like what I try to do is I try to narrow it down to the actual objective things you can measure. So like what is a good plan is kind of tough, but like if you tell the AI to do something, does it actually do it? Like Sharik was talking before about basically you can give a giant, like nicely detailed plan to some models and they just won't do it. Or some AI coding agent. So like it's really like if you tell it to do something, I treat it like a junior or mid-level engineer, like how close do they get to actually implementing that the way you want it? That's really how I base all my evals, because they're a little bit more objective based versus trying to be like, is this actually a good plan, or is this code is this the right implementation? It's like, no, I want you to do this thing. Did you do it? And I think that's the tricky part with a lot of this is the subjective nature of some of it gets really hard to measure, especially when you're dealing with like big code bases.
Yeah. Okay, so if you look here, the project setup is complete, ready for development. Okay, I'm going to proceed while running. I didn't give it instructions to run commands that were autonomous, that wouldn't require my proceed till running. But we are working, looking at a way to get root to basically, right now it sees the terminal once you have, its output once it completes. We're looking at a way to possibly have it pull it every so often and see where it's at. So that way, it can go, it's in this stage. Well, I'm going to send this keyboard command, and then add the ability for root to interact with the terminal. That would be quite handy. Instead of right now, each terminal session is basically a one-shot. Run a command, see what happens. It's just that this feature is a little more complicated than it sounds.
Yeah, something I also think we need to consider is like everyone is talking about context engineering now and giving the model like a lot of specifics. Like that's what people are trying to do, like creating workflows where all the documentation is done first, where they have like everything specified for the coding model to actually do the tasks. But I feel like sometimes that like can go on a downside, because I feel like overprompting is actually a thing, when you try to give the model way too much details, all these documents, and then it tries to read and like create a super detailed to-do list, I think it adds too much overhead into the process, sometimes we actually get better results by using a simpler prompt and just letting the model do its thing. Yeah.
Giving it a mandate instead of micromanaging it.
Yeah.
Murillo,
Yeah,
you've been. Oh, go ahead, Dan.
I think that's something that's happening recently because the models are getting so good at doing everything code related. So sometimes by using a prompt that's too specific, it might go against what they know already about code. So that's what I've seen. Go ahead, Hannes.
Murillo, you've been experimenting internally with some workflow setups. Can you tell us a little bit about those? What have you noticed works? What doesn't work?
So we've been trying to get some workflows done, mainly to work on Rue itself. Like we're trying to get workflows to fix PRs and to do PR reviews and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's kind of like a mix. We have to experiment because this is something that isn't in actually production anywhere else. Like this is all something that we have to experiment to see what works and what doesn't. So I've been trying to create different workflows with orchestrators that gather the context first. That's what I was talking about before. Because sometimes like the context feels too much. I'm trying to incorporate some of the context engineering ideas, but I feel like sometimes it gets a little bit too much. So the workflow gets too complex, and I feel like this just adds too much overhead to the agents when they're actually trying to implement something. So it's like a fine balance. You have to experiment, you just have to go and create a mode and then see how it does. And then you have to take notes on that. Oh, it's stuck on this page. Oh, this part here, it's not going very well. Maybe I should add this, or maybe I should change this one, or include another subtask, a step here. It's something that you just gotta experiment and see how it goes.
What I've noticed is that the workflows we're developing, we get them, they're working 95% of the time. And, we reduce some of the complexity to get them to focus, and they're working. And then I test it with a different model. And the result is like beyond not this, like it's just not comparable. And I'm not certain that it's that the other model is weaker. It's that the workflow was very much developed to a model, which creates a bit of a challenge because right now we have, let's say Sonnet 4. Great, it works. Well, Sonnet 4 is going to be upgraded soon enough. It will be, surpassed by the next Gemini or OpenAI model for a time, likely. And if we develop these workflows and they don't work, that creates a bit of a challenge because we're left redeveloping workflows each advancement if we want to take advantage of the new models. Adam, have you had any experience with this?
Yep, 100%. I run into this all the time with my full-time job, where we will have models that we've built very particular workflow automation for. We target marketers currently, and the Gemini 2.5 is a great example. They updated from 03.25 to 05.06. It broke all my workflows that were dependent on that. It is on me for actually building them on a preview model, but it caught me off guard by having that done. So it very much is not only like per model, it is also per like version of the model. So updates to models can actually break them, and you have to go through and like re-engineer the entire thing, talk to it differently, put different context in there. It is kind of a painful thing.
The good thing is if we're patient. So in our case, where we're developing some specific workflows for Anthropic 4.0 models, when they come out with an upgrade, they've always been good to keep access to the previous models. So it doesn't break our workflow. If we want to take advantage of stuff, it does. In your case, and even actually my case, when I was developing workflows or processes with the preview models, it was quite an upset when it was kicking ass this week and Monday rolled around and a new model dropped or an adjustment, and it's like, I got nothing to do. I have to rework everything.
Yep.
So that's on me, I guess, for relying on a preview, really a beta.
I would say I also see this in like AI coding assistants in general. Like
Okay.
some of them are just highly tuned to work with certain models over other models. And that's got to be, I mean, for you guys, that's got to be like a crazy challenge to have a new model come out and try to like get it to work or listen to things the same way or have prompts that just react very differently based on the model. I mean, I feel like you guys are kind of living the worst part of it, of trying to manage like this universal AI coding tool to work across all these models.
I sometimes I want to when when what you're saying happens. Sometimes my first response is, well, look, it's not our fault. It's but no, that's a crappy response. And then I switch to the where I sort of feel guilty, like it's not working and I'm struggling and spending time. I remember Matt and I spent a week, Matt, I, and several other people, a week working on the Gemini 2.5 apply diff behaviors. And we really made some advancements in our apply diff tool, which show today it's very resilient. But man, it was at first it was like, look, that model's not working how it should because our apply diff is very clear. And then as we dug deeper, we found that, okay, sometimes that's the case. Sometimes 2.5 would come back with a variance, and we could just, it consistently came back with an edge case, let's say 15% of the time, where it just, changed the format of how it was sending the apply diff. Well, we could just, instead of telling it, hey, you did it wrong, we could just work with that because it was consistent. And then there were situations where it was totally, did bizarre behavior, and we would have to try, send it back instructions. And this was just a sort of wild experience where it seeing this happen in real time and people being like, look, your stuff's broken. And at first I was defensive, and then Matt is not defensive like that. I'm sure he can be, but he asks the good questions, and he let us, pushed us to develop it in real time as they're changing this model. So it was pretty wild. And you said we're living the worst of it, and I think that's how I would describe it. It was exciting, but it was difficult, and I'm sure it won't be the last time that happens.
Yeah, there's definitely, sometimes you read these like very generously written, thoughtful prompting guides, like here's how you prompt Codex or here's how you prompt Claude Code, and yeah, there's a part of me that reads that and like, I wish it was that easy for us to, I wish we knew the researchers and I wish it was only like one lab that we were worried about. I think we talked about it last time too. I think we do make it a little harder for ourselves by only having one prompt that applies to all providers. I think at some point we do want the ability to specialize for these different models with their different personalities, and we should really figure out a way to do that. So I think that part is on us, but it does make me feel just a little bit, I don't know if jealous is the right word, but on the other hand, it's like we have the ability to combine what all the different models are good at with each other in a way that these siloed tools don't. So I guess the way to view it is this is the cost we pay for being able to do that, and we probably just need to be a little bit more. Maybe that can be the next mountain to climb, is how to do a better job for each of these individually, and also like how to get our evals or whatever to demonstrate that.
Yeah.
No, because testing that would be quite difficult to verify. Like you guys add a new tool or you update something like Codebase indexing. How do you roll that across all the prompts and make sure it's working, universally, relatively the same? It's definitely overcomable. It's just it's a really fun challenge. That's why things like this need to exist, because solving it is a tough problem. It's not something that somebody can just do on a weekend.
Yeah, and you take some things for granted, like the way that right now, if you want, you can actually share a context, right? And you can switch back and forth between Gemini and Claude on the same context. And I don't know if they all have like different tool calling formats. Like if you can get around like the poisoning of the context, if they'll actually be able to figure out how to do that or not. I guess like every one of these things, you just have to try it and see. But yeah, I agree.
It does make it challenging when it comes to our focus. We want to make the best tool, but we also want an out-of-the-box experience that is superb for people just coming on board. Some people who might be watching this right now. And because we were born out of basically adding functionality to Klein back in the day, we've had to relook at how we make our out-of-the-box experience, because Klein was the out-of-the-box experience. We were the advanced mode. Now we've both diverged from, where we started, and they have advanced features. We have advanced features. There's the out-of-the-box experience for us matters more than it did back in November. So yeah, it has been a challenge, and gosh, we're looking at it every day. How to make that better.
Yeah, and Sharik is asking if there's any interest into implementing native tool calling. So yes, we've talked about it, and there's interest. I don't think we need to sacrifice, other models that don't support that. We can use our current system prompt for that and support the most used models, Sonnet 4, Gemini 2.5 Pro. We can probably work on that at some point in the future, using the native tool calls or having specific prompts for those models that use their strength better, for sure.
Yeah, I know this is kind of this is one data point, but I've actually been kind of doing a lot of native tool calling and XML-based inline tool calling is what I call them in our system, and the thing that I'm building for marketers. And what I found is even the native tool calling will still have some of the same issues, especially when you're doing any sort of replace or diff type of functionality. You still get invalid formatting, and they're doing it in JSON. So for us, it's typically invalid JSON that comes in. So we're doing a lot of doctoring on that's coming out of that. Because it's really what it does is that basically from the model, it gives you a JSON block, which then you actually have to do the tool calling as part of it. So I would be very interested to know failure rates, side by side, does it actually make a massive improvement? And maybe that'll get better over time. Maybe that's kind of the sentiment there is long term, that's going to be super solid. But as of now, I still get hit pretty hard with tool failure calls, how we track them.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think we can look into it if we see there's an improvement with native tool calling as opposed to just support, just improving the prompt itself, using the same XML tools but improving the prompt, the tool descriptions for each main SOTA model. Maybe that's better than just implementing native tool calling, for sure.
We had somebody ask, sorry, it went silent there for a minute. I muted my mic when I wiped the sensor. Anyways, we had a question. Someone said, where indexing? If you look right here, we've moved it down here. It's not an experimental anymore. I think maybe we're going to add something to flag it, maybe some words beside it, or when you first load up, something that forces you to click it so you can acknowledge that it's there, and then it will disappear, sort of like, welcome to the app, click this, yes, okay, I can move on, to introduce everybody to it. But it is a little invisible. Sorry about that.
How many open router credits are we giving to someone who figures out the right icon to use for code-based indexing?
Yeah,
more time debating that.
Yeah.
I want to tell you, to stop for a second here. The fact that this has been running for 30 minutes, it's pretty impressive, isn't it? It wasn't that long ago. There is no way any of these tools would actually run without failing or falling over on the face, running out of context, or tool call failures for 30 minutes.
That's why I spent $400 almost, or over $400 yesterday on API calls, because this new to-do tool actually keeps it doing the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't stop.
Very impressive.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to achieve. The end goal is to make the experience as hands-off as possible, to make it run autonomously so we don't have to interact with it after given a task. For the workflows that we're working on, for the issue fixing and PR reviews and stuff like that, we just leave it on and I come back 40 minutes later and the task is complete. It's much better than what it used to be before. We just have to find that balance to make the workflow work as it should. To keep it on track, Yeah.
Exactly. So that each step actually gets the thing, reports it back. I noticed yesterday I ran one of these workflows and it was a PR reviewer. It ended up fixing all the things. And then when it got back to the main orchestrator, didn't actually know it fixed all the stuff. It's like, hey, do you want me to write a report? And I'm like, actually, I want you to push the changes. So
Yeah.
our workflows weren't designed for the to-do list. And so I think we need to tweak them a bit because our workflows helped to keep them on track. And when you layer them on top of this keeping it on track, it actually might create a bit of multiplication in the wrong direction. So the good news is our workflows can be simplified, basically. It makes the nature of instructing Rue to do something more about the initial prompt than actually coming up with these complex workflows, which is sort of disappointing because we've spent a bunch of time getting them to work pretty good. So I guess we'll boil them down and simplify them a bit, maybe take them from 2,000 lines to 500 lines and see where we go from there. Because this to-do is just wild.
Is that the bitter lesson that everyone's always talking about here? That things just get better and everything that you just did that you thought was smart is no longer needed. It gets
Oh my gosh, I spent so much time on that bloody memory bank that just went I spent so much time on it.
Yeah, even the stuff, Marilla, you added the where you are in the context bar, which I thought was really cool. No offense, but I just don't think about context anymore. It just gets condensed, I haven't had the thought of I should start a new task, and now I'm almost like, do we even need to show this anymore? It's like, I think all these things have their moment, but I don't know. It's crazy how quickly things get better. And I will say one more thing: we haven't gotten a gray screen yet either. Not to jinx it, but yesterday's problems, kind of.
The reason why I went into the workflow for the orchestrator recently is because I was hitting gray screens because I was running these tasks that were longer than I had ever run them. Because why would you run a task that long? That's irresponsible. But with condensing, it became an actual thing, and then we never built Rue with the intention of it being able to run a task, 500 pages long. And so then I was like, well, I need to use Orchestrator more. And so I've done that, and we're working on the gray screen stuff, but Orchestrator did get better results as well, because condensing is great, but if you can avoid condensing through orchestrating some of your tasks, you get pretty solid results.
Yeah, and condensing used to be one of the major concerns the context window used to be one of the major concerns for everyone. We used to prefer the longer the context window of the model, the better. So when Gemini came out with that 1 million context window, I was only running Gemini, I was adding tasks that got to 700k context and stuff like that, and I felt like the prices went way up, because for each call after 700k context, I would get charged 4 times what it used to be on a smaller task, And now with condensing, what I'm actually doing personally, when I'm working on my personal projects, I'm using Sonnet 4 as the coding model, as the model for everything, basically. Mm-hmm. And then I put Gemini on the condensing. So now my tasks can use a 200k window, but it gets to millions and millions of contexts when you look at everything. And it works great now.
Yeah.
The prices are way lower than what it used to be when I had 700k context tasks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've also noticed that you use condensing between, I use condensing between steps when I finish something, but I want to continue with some certain context of the task. I use condensed manually so that I can tell it to do something else that I need to do, keeping the certain context, not all the context, but something that gives it context to the previous task that we just completed, and I just keep going like that as well.
Are you seeing this?
Yeah, condensing is great.
Yeah, I'm completely distracted by it.
It has sound? Wow.
That's what I was just thinking. Actually added sound in there?
Yeah, I was thinking about creating some sort of benchmark for actually testing the workflows, getting some kind of vibe coding projects that we could make the models test with different workflows. I was looking at ideas of what kind of projects we could do to test all this different stuff, like maybe some kind of project that adds sound, another one could be a game, another one that uses an API and stuff like this, so we can
This
test.
is crazy.
Yeah.
This is what our
that's
jobs are
on
going to
it.
turn into, just playing these games while the AI works.
So, back when I was in the game industry, this is back in like 2007, we were joking one day that one day we're going to have a day where we can feed in a game design document into a computer and out it's going to come a game. I think about that often because we're almost to that point now where literally we just feed in a document and we get a game out.
Okay, so far where we're at home, looks like
Kind of
crap.
blank. Flappy Bird doesn't
Flappy
work. It doesn't
Birds
look like-
has a great background. Nothing here. Snake looks like it could work, but the start button doesn't work. What I'm impressed about is I've tried this a few times. It makes Tetris that actually works. This is a far more complex game than Flappy Birds or Snake. Like that's cool. We still
So
there?
one thing that I was thinking about that's actually asked in chat was about how much we actually use AI to actually write code for ourselves. I'm curious if you guys have looked at your contribution history in GitHub. And
I don't
so
write code.
so if you did, but so anyway,
I do. I know how to write code. I'm saying I don't write code.
Yep.
All of it's done by Rue.
So has your contribution account number in GitHub increased year over year?
Well, I didn't have a contribution last year. Oh no, maybe I had one commit, but the other week I was actually the largest contributor to Rue Code.
That's awesome.
And that was it says my name, but it's very much Dan and I were working because his review process and him reviewing and making sure and then sending it back to the drawing board and getting me to fix it. But that went from no contribution to with Rue. I would never write this stuff manually. I'm not that proficient at TypeScript. And I just would not be interested in doing it all day, to be honest.
Yeah, I was looking at mine. So in 2023, I had 1,300 contributions. And then in 2024, I had 1,900. So that's the year that I really started getting into AI assisted coding, towards the end of the year. And this year already, I'm nearing 1,400. And we're not even...
Holy
we're
smokes.
just over halfway through the year. So I think from a velocity standpoint, because I've been trying to figure out a way to track how much it's actually speeding things up, and I think it does significantly for me.
Yeah,
same for me. I used to write code myself with autocomplete and AI autocomplete. That's it. That's the only thing I used for writing code. And yeah, I think this year the amount of code I not wrote myself, but with the use of an agent, has grown so much. The amount of contributions I made, yes, for sure, it went up, way up. Before you...
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, before it's just you didn't contribute, you didn't commit every day, you're working on something and it doesn't work. Then you check the next day, it finally works, and then you commit. Now you're pumping out code that works every single day. And so, the contributions go way up right now compared to before.
I'm not sure what these contributions were, to be honest. But if you look at my page here, this is where this here would have been where I kicked off Klein. I started playing with Klein around here. And then I ended up volunteering with Rue Code around here. And I ended up employed around here. And now you can see
awesome.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
10
for me, it's the
contributions.
exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at Matt's, his is insane. That is an insane contribution. He's got it in the chat. There you go, yeah.
Ah, okay. There we go. Matt, you guys started about right here.
Yeah, you can see the green line when this stuff started working, right? Vertical line.
And then he got lazy up around May.
The time spent talking to Hannes. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. He's basically just trying to keep me in line. Hannes, can you not say that in Discord? You can unsend messages. Okay, where are we at?
Yeah, I beat you in 2024, Matt, but in 2025, you've got me by more than double currently.
Really?
To be fair, I think I get credit for every PR that I merge to or something. So there's a little bit of,
Okay,
finger on the
we'll say
scale in
it's
here.
that.
Yeah.
We'll say it's that.
Yeah. Wow. Holy smokes, Matt, 2008?
Let's show them how old I am. It's,
Your
I
first
did
contribution was March 8th.
I have a user number my GitHub username. I think I'm user number 2000 or something on there. I should have picked a better username. And I'm Rubens. I think I'm
Now you're
MR or something.
Dang, I joined in 2012. I was back before GitHub. We were using Perforce. I don't know. That probably shows my age, but so all my history before 2012 is not tracked, unfortunately.
Yeah. Here we go. Let's see where Daniel is.
Oh no, that's probably not
See,
good.
he went dark here.
Yeah, I was
Vacation.
back then. I was using GitLab. We moved to GitLab, so all my history is on there. But then I started with Ru. You can see it goes green again.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good old green.
Hey, look at that. I mean, just like on a single day, 10 contributions. That was a massive day back. If I go the 2023, 2022 on mine.
Where's you going to put your link in there so I can
Sure.
click on you?
Make fun of me. GitHub user 2600. That's insane.
2600, like the hacking magazine. There we go. Is that
That's really
2600?
good.
Was that what it was called? I don't know. I probably just made a fool of myself. Okay.
You can very much see the when I started using AI around probably September, October timeframe. Everything gets greener.
You don't work on the weekends ever.
I do sometimes.
Very rarely. Look at this. Here, where's Matt?
Matt works every day.
Okay, we got Matt right here on the weekends. Goodness, he gets some of his best work done on the weekends.
85 contributions on the
It's getting personal.
89. Oh my gosh. Mitch just released 24/7.
500 in the last year.
His kids.
That's insane.
Where's Daddy?
Oh my God.
They're vibe coding with me. Don't worry.
Yeah,
That's great.
they're your prompt engineers. Okay, let's see where we are at with now. This list, I'm a little concerned that this is going somewhere different than I mean, this is sort of crazy.
Can you show us the list?
Analyze current game implementation, enhance responsive breakpoints, improve touch targets, interactive. Now, we
It's
didn't
really
actually.
mobile app.
I don't know. Oh, I guess it's trying. Hey, Snake works. There we go.
Oh, yeah, that's so good.
Ha! There we go. Okay.
What happens
When
if
I
you
hit
run off the
escape.
screen? Oh,
Okay.
So-
I'm not very happy. Very disappointed. I would call this a fail. The play again's not centered. Sorry, guys. Flappy Birds is still.
So Hannes, you have done this exercise before, this demo before. Do you see any improvements?
Well, I think I froze Rue. Oh no, we're back. Do I see any improvements? Yeah, beyond. Like this is crazy. When I see this exercise, sometimes it gets pretty cool. Basically, what you get is a home screen, something like this with your 3 games, and you get them about as far as this, and it's great. But the Tetris and the fact that this is still clearly going through and improving, like iterating upon it, it's not just giving us an MVP, taking it to the next level. I probably should have told it to maybe stop at MVP, eh?
You did select minimal implementation in the architect. when I did like the architecture plan. So it's kind of interesting that it's coming in here and adding all of this. So I wonder if that's not getting translated over properly back to the orchestrator.
I found it. I
Go
found the
ahead.
orchestrator a little bit like playing like prompt engineering telephone. It's almost like going through a prompt enhancing process where you give it something short and then it makes it longer. I've seen that kind of, I guess add some fidelity to these things. Again, 100% like real life hierarchy in companies and stuff too. Like you talk to the middle manager, you get a bunch of stuff, but
100% right. Yeah, but honestly, this is still pretty dang sweet. Like the fact that it did all of this and it's running 46 minutes without failure. It's pretty cool.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's.
we just have to keep sure that it keeps on track and doesn't deviate too much.
No, I'm not interfering with this. This is against the rules.
This is what I mean. Like we just have to make it the whole process to be like as focused as possible without human intervention.
Okay, I think I added a window. I'm going to start a whatchamacallit? A non-orchestrator task. Is that the one I wanted? Yeah, that looks about right. Okay. Nothing's in here except a logo. Here we go. Should I try it with I'm going to give it a go. Let's try it with a faster model. Here we go. Go gadget root code. I don't know how a long task will work with the to-do list, Matt. Does it just get longer and longer?
You mean as it adds stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it. And sometimes I think it'll kind of rewrite history a little bit. It'll maybe summarize some of them and can condense them. So the way this tool works is every time you use it, you give it like the whole list again. So it actually feels like pretty smooth. Like when it comes up with stuff that it wants to add, it just kind of adds them kind of seamlessly on the end, which is nice. But yeah, we can see how it goes. There's definitely sometimes I've gotten like 25 to-dos and it starts feeling like a little bit overwhelming. But
Someone is asking if we used structured prompts, and what I've noticed recently is we don't spend much time writing a prompt like something with detail. Usually, what we do is write a mode. So, for example, if we want to follow a specific workflow, we're just writing new modes instead of sitting down and trying to get code mode, for example, to do something specific, use certain tools. We just
repeatable
write a new mode.
things.
Yeah,
basically we're going, look, on this code base, we're doing this thing over and over. Here's a development process, so we're going to make a mode that works well with that development process. And basically it's a code mode or an orchestrator mode.
Exactly. So what he was mentioning is something like, a prompt for release, for CI/CD stuff, DevOps. So instead of writing a prompt and using it for code mode, we are creating a mode that is specifically meant to, coordinate a release rather than copying and pasting the prompt every time. So yeah. Oh, look.
Oh no, I got other we're conflicting now because this one has its thing going. Oops,
So
I switched the wrong one.
The contributor that made the to-do list is on the chat right now. If you want to say something to him, Hannes.
It's
Thank
going
you.
awesome. It's sort of wild, actually. We've been pushing this for 45 minutes. It's just going in an orchestrator. The to-do list plus orchestrator has a bit of an unintended outcome here, so we need to maybe adjust orchestrator to work with to-do a little better. Anybody
overall,
got
though,
anything? What?
I just want to say hi to AXB and thank you for this feature. Like, I think I'm sure we have to tweak it a little bit, but just like I don't know, for me, it's been such a white whale of trying to keep these things running and keep them on track, and this just feels really promising for doing that. Like, I saw someone on Twitter, their definition for AGI is when we can basically run an agent autonomously for a full day and have it actually do meaningful work. And like, I gotta say, we're not feeling like we're so far away from that, even with root code and stuff in there. Like, you can imagine that if we worked at a company that made Flappy Bird games, that this thing could stay busy for a while, and probably for other things too. So yeah, this feels like a real milestone. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Do we have any questions? We've got a few minutes, 9 minutes left. Do we have any questions? Rando questions? Anything?
Oh,
Adam,
someone
do you have
was
any
asking.
questions?
Oh, I'll go ahead.
No, go ahead. Let's hear what someone was asking. Sorry.
Yeah, someone was asking if we're planning to add something like a scroll, the minimap of code you see on the right side of VS Code for Rue to keep track of messages inside of Rue.
Oh, to keep track of messages. What do you? I'm not sure what they mean. You mean like the messages within? Go ahead.
Yeah, if you see the right side of VS Code, the actual code editor, you see a minimap of the code that is on the file. He's asking if we want to add something like that to root code to better navigate a task.
Interesting. I haven't. Once a task happens, I don't spend a lot of time up there because the goal is to have an input and an output. Only when I'm troubleshooting to get the workflow to work better do I actually scroll back and look at it too much. With tasks running on run on tasks with task in context condensing it creates a bit of an issue because when you're running for an hour, how does that this here would just be a microscopic little I'm not sure how to display it in the UI. We'd have to basically group it and have groups within those groups, and it wouldn't make Rue code better, but it would be an interesting feature. So if a contributor comes up with an idea or a PR that makes sense on this, then we'd for sure implement it. We don't have any ideas on how to do it, though, really well with long tasks. Matt, what do you think?
Sorry, can you repeat the last part of that? I was looking at someone's complaint.
Okay, no. So you know how you can sort of see the whole task. I can see a document here, right? Well, when a task gets long, how do you see it? Klein has that little thing at the top, the little vertical. But I was thinking about implementing that. How can we do it? When you have a long task, it doesn't work. It would be just micro dots.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's a cool visualization, but for me, it hasn't seemed that useful, at least, and I'm curious to hear scenarios from people where it is. But I think, honestly, like, I'm moving in the direction more where am viewing these things a little bit more autonomously, like, give it a task, see what comes out at the end. I spend less time. I run more in auto approval. I spend less time correcting it. I try to set up the rules, to like adjust so it does better next time in a more autonomous way versus micromanagement. So I think to me that's where my head's going a little bit, and I know that we're not 100% there, so we still need to like make the experience of watching it good. But yeah, just in terms of which way it feels like the wind is blowing, it feels like it's in that direction. So yeah, and just given that already there's a lot of information, the UI is kind of crowded. I do think it's a challenge of like what really matters here over time.
Okay, so we did a one shot with 2.5. I mean, it did it.
Interesting.
It absolutely worked. I mean, it's not pretty. So I didn't give it a fair chance where I let Sonnet do it in a single task. I'm wondering it would probably not go off the deep end like this, because I would call this a success on some levels, but it's sort of still going. I mean, maybe I'll just keep this thing going and see if it does come up with something. It is not running on Opus, so I mean, it's not going to break the bank. What do you think, Matt? You think I should let this thing run into the $40 or $50 and see what it comes up with?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
It's only like a tenth.
I want to test
Only
it.
a tenth. It's like a tenth of what you spend in a day, so whatever.
Okay.
So
yeah.
someone else is asking that related to a to-do list that I think is pretty interesting. Right now, it doesn't. The model doesn't seem to, or at least Ru doesn't seem to check if the to-do list is completed before completing a task. So maybe that's something we can look into, making sure all the steps are green or something like that before actually trying to complete the task or allowing the model to complete it.
Interesting.
What do you think?
I haven't experienced that when I'm using Orchestrate. So when I use it in its intended design, wasn't an Orchestrate. Orchestrate is almost an experiment right now with To Do. But when I use it in a single task, I don't have a problem. It always gets to the end, it seems. Matt, have you had a problem where it doesn't want to get to the end?
I've seen it occasionally, and I think I think Eric mentioned it on one of the PRs. I thought it was a good idea. I actually have a PR, or at least a branch to do that, to make it so if it tries to attempt completion and there's an open to-do, it gets like a feedback and says it can't do it. It got annoying and the model got stressed out when I was testing. I was asking it, like, give me a to-do list to bake a cake or something, and it wanted to like make the list and then tell me it was done, and it just kept being like, why won't it let me finish? I just felt like I was being mean to the model there, so I decided to like wait and see if this is really necessary, because maybe there are some cases where people want it to make a to-do list and then attempt completion to be like, look at my to-do list. I don't know, feedback welcome, but that's why I didn't pull the trigger on that. I think it makes sense in theory, though.
Okay. Can you please come up with an option that actually lets me choose either to use To Do or not? They're costing so much API. Maybe we could add a kill switch and an advanced setting to turn it off.
Yeah.
I mean, can you disable it in Claude Code? I'm not sure. Sort of central to how Claude Code completes your task.
So the thing with Claude Code is like it will sometimes do it, but other times not do it. Is root code kind of the same way? Like, will it not do it if there's not multiple? Yeah, that's.
If I like just change the port, it just changes the port.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I think it comes down to prompt engineering there. I think we have something. It's like if it's a multi-step task or complicated, use a to-do. But I hear you. I mean, I think that is the other side of it, is like it uses more tokens per request. I think AIB, you might also just try putting in like a custom prompt that just says never use this, like in the short term while you figure it out. I think that's worked for some people with other tools. But I do think that if this is like a thing that is impacting a lot of people, like I do like the idea of giving people some control over stuff like this.
Yeah. I have noticed one thing about the to-do list is basically everything I've been doing in Ru related to prompting has to change because it now approaches the task more thoroughly on its own. So when I give it a super thorough prompt that is over thorough because, well, it didn't work when I didn't do that. Now it seems to have a different effect than when I give it a, use natural language, tell it what I want without giving it aggressive guardrails. So there is something, getting the best practices nailed down is still something that we're in the process of doing, and we want to recommend to people. So give us your insights. Please join Discord, debate, discuss, make issues on GitHub with ideas for changes. We love that. So, Adam, have you been following Grok 4 at all? I mean, that we've got about 10 seconds here. What's your take on what's happening with Grok 4? When's it going to come out?
Is that live stream tonight, 11 p.m. Eastern, I think. I'm assuming they're going to announce it then. I'm hoping it's actually a good coding model. I would like to see someone challenge Claude, but I'm skeptical that they're going to come out and dethrone Claude in any meaningful way. But I'm hopeful it's time.
I guess maybe we'll have something totally different to talk about next week. That'll be very exciting. Thank you for joining us, and thank you everybody for joining us. This has been our, I think, 14th episode of RuCode Office Hours. We'll see you again next week.